Around 8 p.m., my boyfriend and his brother left for the airport to pick up a relative flying in for the party. I was left at the house with his mom, dad, and sister. I didn't feel unsafe or anything, they had been nice to me the whole time. I had left my phone charging in the room we were going to sleep in, so I excused myself to check if I had any important messages or calls. There weren't any, so it didn't take long. As I started heading back to the living room, I heard them talking. Then his mom asked, "So, what do you think about her?" I immediately knew they were talking about me, and I honestly wanted to know what my potential in-laws thought about me, so I stopped and listened. His dad said, "She's nice." His sister agreed with him and added, "She's pretty too." Then his mom said something that immediately made me sick to my stomach. She said, "Yeah, if only she wasn't a fucking N-word," and they all agreed with her. My heart dropped. I tiptoed back to the room and sat there, so confused. I was shaking so much, I didn't know what to do. I wanted to call my boyfriend, but I had a weird feeling, so I didn't. I felt so alone and unsafe. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone around me, not even my boyfriend. I live in Canada, and people here are not as open with their racism as in other places, which, in my opinion, is much scarier. At that moment, the only people I could think of asking for help were my sisters. One of my sisters lives in the US, and the other one is in Canada, but in a different province. They both live far away, so there was nothing they could have done to help me at that moment, but I felt like they were the only people I could trust. We have a WhatsApp group chat, so I sent them a message telling them what happened. I have lived in Canada for a couple of years, but it's not easy to make trustworthy friends here. Canada is a lonely place. I have met a lot of people, but I don't feel like any of them are my friends. If you are an immigrant in Canada, you probably understand what I mean. Anyway, back to the story. My sisters were like, "You need to find a way to get out of there immediately." They told me to make up an excuse saying I had an emergency and needed to leave. I stayed in the room for some time, scared to death. It took everything in me not to start crying. After I collected my thoughts and calmed down, I did what my sisters told me to do. I hadn't unpacked my bag yet, and luckily we brought my car because it's more fuel efficient compared to my boyfriend's. I took my bag and car keys and passed the living room in a rush, saying something came up and I had to leave. I didn't give them a chance to ask any questions. I just got in my car and drove away. It was getting late, and I wasn't in the right state of mind to drive back home. I just wanted to get as far away as possible before stopping at a hotel for the night. My boyfriend had called me a couple of times. I called him back but couldn't bring myself to tell him what had happened, so I gave him the same excuse I gave his parents. He asked if he should come home as well, and I told him it wasn't necessary. I went home the next day, and my boyfriend showed up at my apartment a few hours later. I looked at him, and it felt like all the love I had for him had just disappeared. Though I acted like everything was fine, I wondered if he was racist too. He had been so great during our whole relationship, I never once felt like he had any racist thoughts or feelings. But I can't help but think about how his family made me believe they were nice people, and I keep wondering if he's also just pretending to like me. We don't live together, but my lease is ending in July. He owns his place, so I was supposed to move in with him after my lease ended, but I have managed to get out of moving in with him. I don't feel like I love him anymore. It's been 3 days now since we got back from his parents' place, and I want to end things with him without causing any trouble.